Minecraft speedrunning. Or more specifically, the topic today is MCSR rank. A mode played by over 10,000 players that allows runners to compete simultaneously on mirrored worlds at the same time, with the exact same mob drops and the exact same block drops. And it's a community filled to the brim with talented elite level crafters, with such incredible technical ability consistently showcased to beat the game in minutes. To work out the beginning steps of competing, you would need someone strong enough, cool enough, handsome enough. Hi. Sure, you may go and say something along the lines of, Pablo, look at the sub count. You have neither the budget or the pool to get a coach. Oh, and your Minecraft skill level is honking and all. But believe it or no, I have a few tricks up the sleeves of my suits, such as the ability to read. Okay, yeah, trick one is just me reading a book, but this book is the ultimate Minecraft speedrunning guide produced by Canoe, and it's available for free for everyone. That includes not only you, but me too. Trick number two is a very general one, as it's just kind of the entire internet, but my most common pool to be fishing from today is the mid-offs. It's honestly one of the coolest Minecraft events ever. It was hosted by Pablo, and basically all these elite level crafters I mentioned previously who know what they're doing at speedrunning, coach creators deemed to be mids how to speedrun within 5 days. Following this, they all compete in a big knockout tournament to determine who is the best student and who is the best coach. And the best news for someone in the same situation as me is the majority of these coaching sessions are archived and available as VODs to consume by learning second hand. This means I'm equipped with everything I could possibly need before heading out to speedrun it up. So sit down, grab a snack and enjoy the show as I discuss everything I learned when trying to become a Minecraft speedrunner in 5 days. Before I could actually play some MCSR, I had a small hurdle to clear. I had to actually download the client and adjacent software / tools to properly speedrun. And I rushed into this excitedly desperate to get going and read the following inside the guidebook. This section of the guide goes in the best ways to set up Minecraft for speedrun, including practice maps and tools. We will be setting up Minecraft version 1.16.1 as it's generally the fastest and most accessible version. If you're interested in playing MCSR ranked, this is not included in the setup guide. You can all I actually had to do was Google MCSR rank, press copy link and paste it into a launcher. There is actually 2 external tools not included in the base download, and they're Jingle and Ninja Brainbot, but I'll explain those very shortly. The only other tool was Map Check, which let me download every practice map ever in existence with like 3 mouse clicks, which is quite handy. So after multiple wasted hours in day 1, which is entirely my own fault because I just didn't read the next paragraph in the guidebook, I finally got to boot up Minecraft and got to set up the 2 previously mentioned tools. Jingle is a tool that adjusts the window size, and this lets you basically zoom the game without modifying the game application or settings themselves. It can most notably be used to see through the fog in the nether when scanning for structures such as a bastion or a fortress. Although it's also very useful in partnership with the other new tool, Ninja Brainbot. By using Jingle to zoom in on the right piece of the ender eye, you can do maths to find the stronghold. Don't worry though, as you don't actually need to do the maths yourself, as Ninja Brainbot is a calculator that runs the calculation for you. As pressing F3 and C basically copies your coordinates and the angle you're looking at to the clipboard, which can be read by the program immediately. Anyone who's actually done this before though will notice on screen I am not looking in the right area at all of the ender eye itself. And clearly, once again, I wasn't paying enough attention when trying to learn it. And the worst possible outcome is the scuffed wrong method worked for some reason, and I wouldn't actually revise this for a very long time. Anyway, I was already enamored by the fancy new practice maps hours ago when I read and learned about them, and I wasn't going to go to bed without at least attempting some of them. First up was one of the most used practice maps in the entire 5 days. This is a map called Portal Practice, where you're able to recreate every possible realistic environment where you may craft a portal inside of a speedrun. I'll be honest, a lot of them are intimidating and scary and really overwhelming, but I thought one portal I do need to know is how to make a portal from a regular lava pool, as it's probably going to be valuable in like 90% of my attempted runs. So I locked in and consumed all of the resources the guide lists to actually be able to do this, and now I'm going to report back the knowledge I gained. So you need to look for a 4 block wide lava source pool and place 1 block directly in the middle right or the left, followed by your water bucket bracket on the side with the most lava on it. Then simply destroy the block you placed originally and you'll have a base to work with. Next, you want to make a 3-high tower and add a block coming towards you at its peak, almost like a hook. Now, following a 1-block gap between the hook towards the opposite obsidian of the base, place 2 blocks across the ground. Now dig up a wee hole for the water to stay in later on. Now just place the water at the peak of the hook's tower and the intimidating part is over. Just lava bucket it up like you're placing obsidian and bam, you've already got a portal. The next practice map loaded up was undoubtedly in the top 2 for the most utilised practice maps, and that was Llama's Bastion Practice. Here you can play any of the 4 Bastion structure variants and practice the routes over and over again to loot them to get your ender pearls and your obsidian that you'll need for your speedruns. Considering how all over the place day 1 was by this point, I didn't really have any solidified knowledge to perfect these at all, but even just engaging with the structures, beginning to visually connect and recognise what a bridge would be or what a treasure would be was more than enough for now. Day 1 has one more notable event up its sleeve. Despite not properly knowing Bastions or how to fight the dragon or how to do any overworlds properly, I loaded up a casual beginner's mode speedrun where you basically get your hands held and get checkpoints. Oh, and you also don't lose your items when you die. I'm watching it back now, it's an incredibly tough one. There's so many notable mistakes, such as looting raw meat for food when I had flint and steel in my hotbar, a horrific Bastion approach before purling into lava and trying to go back to the overworld to get water to put myself out, instead of just using the fire raise pots that were in my inventory. Believe it or not, this run didn't last the distance, but there's a saying that goes along the lines of winners win and losers complain. It's easy to nitpick and backseat when you're not in the action. It's another thing to actually get it right in the moment under pressure. I'm sure if I watched back this run moments after completing it, I'd critique the exact same negatives as me now who's already completed the 5 days. But that's why the 5 days are there in the first place, to learn these skills. As the best time to start may have always been in the past, but the second best time to start is now. Honestly, day 2 may be the most information heavy day of them all. I learned every single Bastion. Maybe no perfected, and certainly not all the possible variants of each of them perfectly, but fundamentally I know what I should do. I'll do a scuffed, brief explanation of my understanding of each. Bridge. You can tell a bridge is a bridge because it's on a bridge. If I'm provided the good variant, I mine the big gold square, run and build to the right, connect the path to the treasure area and use the pre-made hole to trade with the piglins. If it's the other variant, I run and build to the left with a sort of Tetris L shape to block the lava and let the piglins path find their way up. Then it's pre-made hole repetition in a mirror treasure area. Oh, and you tell whether you're going left or right of the portion of mining your gold square. If the bigger rampart is on the left, or if it's on the right. See here, it's on the right, it's on the left, it's on the left, it's on the right, it's on the right. Very nice Bastion overall, very open and very simple. Unlike Treasure. Treasure is probably the hardest to get to grips to, as it's very, very unforgiving if you hesitate at all. You normally approach it from the bottom, where you will spot these like lava basin lane sort of things. You can mine into the wall and sometimes grab a free chest, but it's no guaranteed. Regardless, afterwards it's pillar up time all the way up to the bridge portion. Hop onto the gold block the routes for the piglins to attack you and mine it. Jump to the next again gold block and repeat the same process. In a real environment, you probably craft a golden helmet here before proceeding, and while you do that, try not to stand in the corner, stand at the edge. I know it's intimidating as it's over lava, but if you're in the corner, the piglins can poke through at you and knock you off. Meanwhile, if you're standing at the edge, they can't reach you. After taking a deep breath, you need to zigzag up the opposite staircase. During this, you need to break a roof block to help the hunting pack of piglins pathfind their way and stop them getting stuck. You also need to break the wall and connect even more piglins to follow you. Once you've done that, continue to zigzag all the way to the top. There's a pre-made hole right there and trade away. There's also a few gold blocks up at the very top area which you need to loot. Stables, I actually know both variants perfectly. You go into this underbit crevice, and if there's an air gap on the left wall, it's a very good variant. Follow it down and block off the hunting pack. Prepare the pre-made hole and burrow into the wall for some gold blocks. Trade with the piglins to stop them being aggravated on you, and also claim the secret piglins that are hiding in the roof. Finally, mine under the lamp and get the last few blocks of gold. There's a lot of gold blocks here, so make sure you do not miss it. Meanwhile, the bad variant, you go down the staircase on the right if there's no hole on the left wall. Staircase up to the C shape on the wall, and you might notice it's the exact same area. You have your pre-made hole, a burrow in the wall for gold, and you trade your piglins and dig under the lamp. It's exactly the same, it's just mirrored in the other direction and it's slightly further away, so it's more difficult to get piglins there. The final of the 4 is housing, and it's definitely my favourite. 2 distinct variants exist. Although these variants don't depend the way it actually spawns, it's more so where you approach the bastion from. Top down is probably the safer approach, and you basically go from the top and work yourself down. There's an existing hole at the very top, you need to drop down it and pillar up 2 blocks. Once you've done that, you can loot the double chest undetected as the piglins can't see your head. Go down and break the single chest to get all the piglins to chase you and run down the chasm into the underground section. Make sure you block off behind you and place a flooring to burrow into the walls for gold blocks again. And if you break even further, there's more hidden secret piglins in the roof in this bastion too. Throw roughly half of your gold down to distract the piglins that are there, because you're going to have to jump down into the action. You need to find this indented square inside the floor pattern. Block the top of it off so no one can sneak in, and dig down. Dig 1 block forward to create the gap for the piglins to be trapped in, and make sure you place a block. This is to ensure any trades don't go somewhere you cannot access. From here, just mine up all the gold and trade away, as all the piglins will now find themselves in that hole you just made in a free place to trade with. The secondary route is manhunt, and this is my favourite one. You approach it from the ground floor and you destroy the chest from the garden area. It's suddenly time to run from every single piglin in existence. Tower up inside the double chest area and loot it. Burrow through the wall and you'll see a familiar segment. Pillar up to the area that you'll recognise from before. Make sure you block it off behind you and repeat the glow blocks in the wall investigation. Once again, throw half it down, look for the indent, mine blocks and trade with the piglins. They're both incredibly similar, but I feel manhunt is just a lot funner, although it's a lot more dangerous. Don't worry though, information overload doesn't stop there either. I also learned every single kind of relevant overworld, because you can't actually play a buried treasure overworld unless you have a very high elo, which means it's definitely not a concern for a beginner like me. A village overworld is to loot the blacksmith, pillar up and crit out the iron golem. You need to prioritise flint and steel in a bucket with your iron, and any extra and go towards something like a pickaxe or shears. From there, you just need to find a lava pool and get yourself to the nether. Desert Temple is awesome. You dig down and blow up TNT to loot all the chests immediately. You have every single block you'll ever need for the entire run to build with, along with some extra TNT for mining trees or gravel even quicker. Once again after this is a lava pool entrance to the nether. Ruin Portal just has obsidian in the chest to complete it for like 90% of the time. If it doesn't, you have to like maneuver a water bucket to fill the rest of it with a lava bucket. The final one is Shipwreck. You have to loot a food chest and an iron chest that are inside of the shipwreck. These locations are static, but the shipwreck itself can spawn facing different directions. Then just get wood off the island you spawned at, gravel from underwater, and dig into a magma ravine to create a portal. But wait, we don't know how to make a portal underwater. Yeah, this was probably the most intimidating, confusing thing that I had on my list to learn. I know you won't believe me, but it's actually kind of simple when you've done it. And I honestly think I'm kind of faster at this than a regular lava pool. So the first thing you want to do is identify an L-shaped magma block pattern. Pick one of the outside blocks of this L pattern and mine it. And please do not sprint into this block as you mine it. You will get swallowed into a lava lake below and you will be stuck under obsidian. You will lose everything inside of the flames. Provided you listen to that advice, you should place a door on the block you're resting on. 2 doors should also go 1 block behind the magma blocks in front of you. Now place a block in front of you that's on top of the magma block and destroy that very magma block. Now you're going to use your bucket, but it's very important you take the source block of lava below each magma block as you now construct the portal. If you miss one of these 2 lava sources, the portal will fail. Once the top half construction is complete, block off the water next to you and open up the portal. If you're in a nice lava lake, the portal will be ready immediately after you open up by destroying all the blocks inside. But sometimes the lava lake isn't deep enough. If so, open up the space that's waiting for the obsidian to be placed and manually dig around for some more lava to place. Turn that lava to obsidian and voila, you have your underwater portal. Don't worry, there's only one more big thing I learned today. Even though I wouldn't say this was learned properly, partially because how big an info dump this day already turned out to be. This topic is going to be the end fight, more specifically how to one-cycle the dragon. One-cycling is basically using beds to defeat the dragon in one perch cycle. If you do this, end crystals are irrelevant as the dragon can't heal itself. I didn't learn the perfect execution point at the time when I was doing this, but I did learn the setup with placing 2 obsidian blocks on the side of the very peak of the end portal. Now what we are going to do is pay very close attention to when the dragon activates its perch mode. You can kind of spot when it happens because the dragon will suddenly lock its movement and turn directly to the portal. From here, when it starts circling, you need to pay attention to which way it turns and follow it. So here in this example, the dragon is turning left. This is an example of it turning right. Turn left, turn left, turn right, turn left. Once you've followed that turn, go prepare the beds and fire. The final action is the bit that I didn't quite learn properly during this day. I'll explain it later on when I actually start doing it correctly. Just know it's going to involve entity hitboxes and some game logic. With all that theory nonsense out the way, we can finally throw ourselves into an actual speedrun. It is a casual one once again. I was just trying to put all that theoretical knowledge together in a real environment. And the opportunity to do so was presented with a lovely village seat. In it we got a bunch of foods, enough iron for shears, and reached the nether in just over 8 minutes. Sure, some of the best players in the world can nearly beat the game twice in that amount of time, but I can certainly live with this on a first proper run of the day. Regardless, it's nether navigation time. And it's also something that I've not talked about the theory of. I'll be as quick as I can, okay? Welcome to the scary number-filled F3 screen. This massive heap of data will allow us to locate the direction of a bastion and a fortress. You go to a bastion first, so we'll start with how to locate one of those. Before anything else, make sure your entity distance is all the way at the max, so your game can render all the mobs that are around you. Now look at the top left number of the scary data screen, the one with a capital E. The left number is how many are in direction we're looking at. The right is how many are loaded in total in all the distance around us. We want to also make our FOV really small so we can be accurate and scan around in circles looking for a peak in that entity count, as bastions are loaded while all they're pickling straight away, which count towards this counter. In this example, it looks like the direction of our spike is in this way, so let's quickly investigate it. And wouldn't you know, it's a bastion right there. Pretty cool, right? Now for a fortress, we need to open an extra submenu of this already overwhelming scary heap of data. By pressing shift at the same time as F3, we now see a pie chart. This pie chart has so many things that I didn't understand. What I do ken is each of those words with a number next to them below the pie chart are all submenus. The order of those words aren't static, and they'll be ordered by which there is more of. You need to press the number correlating to the following: tick, level, entities, and block entities. The way that you're going to have to track down a fortress is by tracking the blade spawner block, as this counts as a block entity. Turn your render distance down and slowly work your way through increasing it by 1 and refreshing this pie chart. Once you get a reading confirming the blaze spawner, go 1 below that render distance. You're now going to activate chunk borders with F3 and G. The information you know is the distance between the spawner and your current chunk. But now by having the render distance turned down by 1, you can walk forward, backwards, or sideways into a different chunk, and if it renders a spawner, you'll know that's the direction you need to go. So as you see in this example, it turns out towards this chunk, it now reappears on our pie chart. So if we fly our way through and spectator, you'll see, bam, there's a fortress right there. The wee side quest is over, back to our speedrun where we located a housing bastion after just over 10 minutes. And in under 7 minutes, we finish up our piglin trades and find the fortress in under 20 minutes total. Sure, we did die before we could actually pillar up to it, but after just over half an hour, we gathered all our blaze rods and could actually start to find the stronghold. Bad news is this was my first time actually doing it in practice. I didn't count enough obsidian and I had to walk over 2,000 blocks. Oh yeah, and we also kinda ate all our food in this process, so we're gonna starve through the desert to even attempt this. Thankfully we were saved from this fate as our opponent had forfeited. But would we have found the stronghold anyway? No, because remember, I still have a horrible bad habit of doing ender eyes wrong. Maybe the bold red warning in the calculator says it's only 2.7% confident of my ender eye readings was a good clue to look at. It's done now though, it's in the past, and it's something I can now actively actively work on. And that I did is I reread the book properly this time and found I had to change my FOV and use Jingle to zoom in on the eye. You have to aim your cursor to be in line with a line that's 1 pixel to the left of the centre of the eye. With this information, I attempted to calibrate my calculator properly so it knew roughly how much of an error margin to give me when doing calculations. However, the reading during this calibration should always be below 0.1, as that proves you're actually doing it properly. And after over half an hour of attempting to get below 0.1, I may have misclicked and lost all progress, which meant it was the end of day 2 and it was something I tried to do in day 3. As you already ken, day 3 began with even more calibration. At least by the end of it though, I felt very confident in using Ninja Brainbot. I did a wee bit more practice in everything I just talked about, and do not worry, I will not be talking about it all over again and explaining it over again, that already took far too long. After all that practice, I loaded myself into another casual run, where I was quickly outpaced by my opponent managing a sub 4 location of the Bastion in a village overworld. This run never made it past a nether fortress for myself, but I had to VOD review my opponent because that time just seemed incredible. A lot of it was they were simply just faster mechanically than me and nether travelled with far less foot. But I decided to look into some potential time saves for my overworlds. In steps the legendary Wreck-Rap videos. This collection of 3 videos that are all about Minecraft speedrunning are just super awesome. I strongly recommend consuming them in any fashion if you have any interest in trying MCSR yourself or want to learn Minecraft speedrunning. I only watched one of them in day 3, but trust me, it quickly became a priority to consume the entire series within these 5 days. From the very first video, I learned multiple small changes to make to my routes, including that iron golems actually spawn at the bell when you load into the world. This was an incredible piece of advice. As before, I was just using the power of hopes and dreams to hopefully locate the iron golem when it eventually walks into me. I think it shows how great those videos were that my mental was suddenly so high that I felt comfortable competing in my first ever proper ranked match. You know, the system that has all these different tiers with different skill points that match you up against all the people who are meant to be, you know, at the same level as you. But as it was my first, I had to do some placement matches. A sub 5-minute Bastion had me brimming full of confidence even though I already was anyway. And that was also lost very quickly as I died struggling to find the lower chasm of a housing Bastion. There's no worries though, I can just reset the world and go again. This is a ranked match after all, my elo cannot handle me forfeiting. But honestly, something a little weird that's 2 runs in a row the gold block of the ruined portal has been some ghost block when I've mined it. Oh, and the same happened in the housing Bastion once I routed it properly. Yeah, here's a fun fact for you. Did you know gold pickaxes can actually break gold blocks? The efficiency enchantment broke it so quickly that I didn't think anything was even wrong to begin with. Oh well, I can just do like a scuffed route I guess and make a pickaxe from chest loot. I'll just hunt around and find some gold blocks that are somewhere. Yeah, it didn't quite work. Third time's a charm though, and after 20 minutes I finally did it right. Bad news however though is I simply didn't have enough obsidian after all of my piglins raids. This meant I was actually forced to do a scuffed route for some extra gold. Really not an outstanding first rank performance, I've got to say. And to make matters worse, my opponent has already got to the end dimension and is on track for a sub 30 finish. But believe it or not, despite all of this, they proposed a draw vote as they fell into the void. And I am officially undefeated in my speedrunning journey in all of my ranked competitive matches. I just need to put my debut behind me. It was just the first game nerves, but you know, at least I had a friendly face for conversation in my next opponent. I was completely honest with them when they asked if I was any good. A quick village overworld later and a bridge bastion was encountered in under 6 minutes. Sure, there was a small detour saga trying to get the gold as the Hoglin defeated me, but even so, I made it to the fortress after 10 more minutes, and I was loaded with obsidian, pearls and fire rays. Bad news however, as I quickly realised I can't count. I didn't have enough obsidian to nether travel again. Even worse news, the blaze rods odds were awful. Sadly, I may have been a wee bit distracted while waiting for some blaze rods and I may have accidentally died. Thankfully, my opponent also had a not so pleasant run and agreed to do a draw. The unbeaten record remains once again in my ranked competitive journey. Look, I can't lie, we're now over halfway the amount of time that I have available to spend on this challenge. And I've invested 10 hours and 46 minutes into this so far. And that's just my gameplay footage tallied up. Obviously not every instance of me reading the guidebook or learning through other resources is recorded because it's just me sitting in silence. And my pure storage would probably explode if I tried to do that. And after all that time, I've still not actually beat the game a single time. I can't exactly say that I learned speedrunning if I'm too bad at the game to even beat it using any of these new skills I've learned. But there's one more run for this day, although at this point my mental was collapsing compared to how it was when I started. I'm starting to have wee doubts about whether this was even worth my time or whether I should just give up recording this. After all, you can shuffle a deck of cards as many times as you like and dress it up in all different fancy ways. But despite all that, it's still a deck of cards. Maybe I'm just a deck of cards trying to prove it's something it's not. The next run kinda had a promising start, but I didn't even get to enter the Bastion as the opponent forfeited. Like, sure, I technically won my first ever ranked game, but it certainly didn't feel that way at this point. The longer things were going wrong, the more the doubts just grew. One more real run for the day. A lovely desert temple gave me a diamond pickaxe, and I found the Bastion and looted it after 12 minutes. I had armor, lots of wool, and beds already crafted, and a safety golden apple. And I've learned from previous mistakes with plenty of obsidian as well. If there was an opportunity to go all the way and make a statement, it was now. I had my ender eyes and the predicted stronghold location before 90 minutes had even passed. But the doubt grew exponentially more as a warning of a massive error appeared on the calculator. Like, I spent over 2 hours in that in the morning. I perfected it, right? Surely I'm not also failing at that too. But look, all you can do is brush it to the side, as there's only one way to find out, and that's by getting to those coordinates. And would you believe it? Those coordinates were correct. We are in a stronghold in a real ranked match run in under 20 minutes. My opponent is even giving the vote of confidence saying they do not want to forfeit. I might actually beat the game, but I'm kind of 2 ender eyes short for the portal. But it's fine, I can just get some more rods, although this labyrinth of a stronghold is kinda hiding the portal from me. And that's okay, I know how to do an underwater portal, I can just make one here. Yup, it's fine, whatever, sometimes things go wrong, but, you know, time's still ticking, at least the second time worked though. Despite that, I'm still entering the end with a safety bed inside the stronghold at the half-an-hour mark. All I have to do is the 1 cycle, which I have like a 2% success rate at, despite practicing it for hours. I don't know how to do the final action properly. And believe it or not, I didn't do it. Like, we all knew this was going to be the outcome. And I also do not have a bow for the end crystal towers. So I just need to, like, destroy them no matter how messy it gets. There's this growing voice that gets louder and louder the more time I take, that I'm just wasting this kind soul's time in the chat. They believe in me. They want me to get my first win. They've declared it and they're being so supportive. But I've kept messing up over and over during this run. How much longer will I get in this scuffed end fight? How much longer will they wait for me? How much longer until they just quit? I'm taking forever after all. At this rate, I'm not even going to finish a run, am I? There's no point thinking about that. You can only control what's in front of you. Yes! 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 I did it! Wait! No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I won! I did it! I actually did it! I actually can't believe they waited. I can't believe they waited the whole time. I love humanity. I love it. I love it. It's an amazing day. Here we go over this stupid block game. Oh, it was a waste of time. A new lease on life was instilled into me on day 4. The shackles were officially off and I've proven myself. Theoretically, if I just did the 1 cycle and counted my ender eyes, that could have been a sub 30 run. And now that is the target. That is what I'm gonna go for. That's what my first opponent was on pace for after all, my very first placement match. So I want to try as hard as I can for my PB to be a sub 30 by the end of these 5 days. I practiced all my general skills and more importantly, I watched more rec rap. Doing that, something clicked. I discovered why my 1 cycles were going so wrong. I found the final piece of information about that final action. So I hope you can entertain another explanation about this new much needed skill. So by turning on dragon hitboxes, you'll notice there's 2 green cubes in the dragon's head. The smaller green box is what we're going to watch. You'll notice it doesn't match the model for the majority of the time the dragon's flying, so going off the actual model itself is useless. After all, the small hitbox is where the dragon is vulnerable and takes the most damage from our beds. So the mission is to time our beds to explode when the dragon's head is just above them. But in terms of game logic, did you know that bed's explosion in the end or the nether doesn't happen on the end of the bed that you click on? It doesn't happen at at the middle of the bed either. It is in fact static and will consistently occur on the pillow of the bed. All we need to do is match the pillow and the smaller green box a few times in a row and we can do a 1 cycle. With this new knowledge, I was doing 1 cycle successfully multiple times in a row. Rather than hammering my head against the wall doing it once an hour and wondering what on earth's going wrong, I'm literally clicking the bed. And let me tell you, I felt invincible. Now sure, I could spend more time sharpening my skills for a few extra time saves on different technical aspects, but I didn't. A ship is safest at the dock, but it's not what it's meant to be. You can have the sharpest pencil in the world, but it doesn't impact anything until the pencil actually goes to paper. And I won't reach a sub 30 perfecting my routes. I need to be out there, experiencing problems that only occur on real runs, learning lessons the hard way, make them stick in my mind, just like the golden pickaxe, just like counting obsidian, just like ender eyes. And that I did, and what I learned was that everyone in Coal forfeits the moment you're beating them in rank, which means I can never PB and I can never get a run that goes like anywhere close to Stronghold, and it's a waste of my time. So to save this, I spent over £2 for a subscription so I can make private lobbies to guarantee an actual attempt at the stream of a sub 30. So like, you know, please subscribe if you haven't. I mean, you've listened to me waffle along and drag on for this long, so, you know, I can't be that bad at this. Unless you're just sleeping, which is a very real possibility. Anyway, enough distractions. What I really learned from prioritizing this is that I need to manage my food better from a forfeit at 42 minutes after farming zombie pigmen for rotten flesh just to survive. I also learned that I had to desperately get better at navigating strongholds. I also need to not use wooden planks as my building blocks, as I do need them to craft beds later on. In mining the wood in the library, it takes a very long time. Despite this, that run I actually finished, nearly with a full proper 1 cycle as well. A few final prods of the sword to finish off the dragon as day 4 ended with a sub 35 credited to my name. 24 hours remain. This is it. I squeezed out every piece of guidance I could latch onto from a rec rap how to speedrun rewatch, such as the best bind from Nether to Stronghold is at Y level 35 to 40, unless you're keen on spawning at the surface and digging all the way down. I also learned that within 7 rooms of a Stronghold enter, the end portal should exist. And when I say a Stronghold enter, I mean this, the starter staircase. You can identify it by the lack of route to follow when you try to climb it. If you spawn at another point of the Stronghold, you can track it down when using the wooden doors. Any wooden doors that aren't in line with the walls are good. However, if they're flat and in line with the walls, they're bad. If I keep following the indented wooden doors like this, you'll see I eventually end up at the starter staircase. It's a very good tip from the 3rd rec rap video. After this, I also mastered my nether portal practice, hitting PB after PB. I was also running through my bastions with ease. The clock was ticking for a last dance, and it was time to put on a performance. But to be annoying, I've got one more final skill to actually explain. I actually mean final this time. I mean, I don't have any time for more. This is literally day 5. To make our stronghold navigation foolproof, we're going to use a pie chart to try identify where the portal room is. Using the pie chart, go to Game Renderer, Level and Entities. This is a pie chart that shows how much lag is produced in our FOV from different entities. Considering before every end portal there is a silverfish spawner, which we know from the blaze spawners at fortresses, we know they're a block entity. So if we theoretically turn our FOV all the way down and look for a direction that the orange blob is the biggest, we can look for a peak in the lag spike which will show that there is a spawner in that direction. Although I will add, this peak is entirely dependent on what your hardware is. Final warning as well, if there's a mineshaft that spawns around your stronghold, they kinda can have cave spider spawners, which will lead to false positives, but if you do get a false positive and go the wrong way, you can just go back to the starter staircase and go to the 2nd highest peak and go 7 rooms on there. Anyway, enough of that, the stage is calling, the last dance is now. Time to turn the music on and make dreams a reality. Sure, it was a quite rocky start. From jumping directly into lava, to being sniped out the sky in a bastion, to me failing to even find bastions anymore. Believe it or no, locating a nether fortress isn't going any better either. All these mistakes happened in relative succession and time was ticking down and I kinda got in my own head. I started to reset over small mistakes like misclicking a trap door in a shipwreck entrance. I had complete tunnel vision over getting this sub 30, and it was proving detrimental. There is now less than 2 hours before the clock strikes 12 and midnight arrives. And with that, the 5 days would have been up. The sub 35 run was already something to be proud of in my books, but I've given up so much leading up to this point. So much time in the last 2 days to make these runs even more efficient to try bridge this gap. I just needed to put it all together in one single run, and Acacia Village Overworld is awaiting us. Our overworld navigation route is so refined at this point that we entered the Nether in just over 3 minutes with nearly a stack of bread. No mistakes on the Bastion location this time as we identified a treasure bastion. We couldn't afford to hesitate as we zigzagged our way up, connected the path and traded away. The pure excitement of the opportunity that had been placed in front of me had dawned on me. It turns out in this seed there is a nether fortress in touching distance of the Bastion. So of course we entered that fortress with obsidian and pearls in just over 10 minutes. And in under 17 minutes, we had located with 100% accuracy on the calculator where the stronghold is. Although I did make a very big costly mistake trying to bind back to the overworld. I was too focused on not messing up this opportunity that I binded to the stronghold at the wrong Y level. I had to dig my way all the way to the stronghold from the surface. But no matter, we reached it eventually with 22 minutes on the clock. And our stronghold practice was worth it in the end as within 3 extra minutes we had found the portal, crafted our beds and were entering the end. It was in our hands. It was statistically impossible for the dragon to not perch before the sub 30. So we waited, taking deep breath after deep breath. Watching the dragon, knowing this could be the one and only final chance to achieve a sub 30. After all, there was no time to squeeze in another run after this. It all comes down to these bed placements.
Yes! Oh, on that dragon! Actually going on that! Yeah, right, around you. Don't Enderman! I've actually done it! I've actually done it! Yes!
Overall, this is probably one of the most enjoyable and rewarding projects I've ever done. I honestly can't recommend enough getting into speedrunning. Just chuck a week away at it and I promise you'll be beaming away with a smile by the end of it. Throughout the video you may have seen the recommended resources popped up from time to learn different skills. In the description, to the best of my ability, I've tried to sort them all separately by day and by skill, so links to the channel and the video and timestamps to that specific skill. Because I I'm not exactly the expert and I didn't exactly say all the technical terms and proper terms. Like, I have not even done a speedrun in 2026. This was all filmed in 2025 and I've only just got around to finishing it now and it's the back end of February. But maybe I'll do another speedrun if you like check a purple site near you, like haha nudge nudge wink wink. Anyway, that's all enough for now though. Have a good day, night and certainly rest of your life.